Prabhupada by Srila Prabhupada. For the intelligent person, it is essential to be in Krishna consciousness, engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, in order to achieve a permanent, blissful abode for eternal happiness. The process of achieving such a marvelous result is very easy and can be attempted even by the poorest of the poor without any kind of qualification. The only qualification required in this connection is to be a pure devotee of God. It does not matter what one is or where one is situated. The process is so easy that even a leaf or little water or fruit can be offered to the Supreme Lord in genuine love, and the Lord will be pleased to accept it. No one, therefore, can be barred from Krishna consciousness because it is easy and universal. Who is such a fool that he does not want to be Krishna conscious by this simple method and thus attain the highest perfection life of eternity, bliss and knowledge? Krishna wants only loving service and nothing more. Krishna accepts even a little flower from his pure devotee. He does not want any kind of offering from non-devotees. He is not in need of anything from anyone because he is self-sufficient, and yet he accepts the offering of his devotee in exchange of love and affection. To develop Krishna consciousness is the highest perfection of life. Bhakti is mentioned twice in this verse in order to declare more emphatically that bhakti or devotional service is the only means to approach Krishna. No other condition such as becoming a brahmana, a learned scholar, a very rich man or great philosopher can induce Krishna to accept such offering. Without basic principle of bhakti, nothing can induce the Lord to agree to accept anything from anyone. Bhakti is never causal. The process is eternal. It is direct action in the service of the Absolute Whole. Here Lord Krishna, having established that he is the only enjoyer, the primeval Lord and the real object of all sacrificial offerings, reveals what kind of sacrifice he desires to be offered. If one wishes to be engaged in the service of the Supreme Order and to be purified and reach the goal of life, the transcendental loving service of the Lord, then one should find out what the Lord desires of him. One who loves Krishna will give him whatever he wants, and he avoids offering anything which is undesirable or unasked. Thus, meat, fish and egg should not be offered to Krishna. If he desired such things as offerings, he would say so. Instead, he clearly requests that leaf, fruit, flowers and water given to him, and he says to this offering, I will accept it. Therefore, we should understand that he will not accept meat, fish and eggs. Vegetables, grains, fruits, milk and water are the proper food for the human being and are described by Lord Krishna himself. Whatever else we cannot offer, cannot be offered to Krishna, since he will not accept it. Thus, we cannot be acting on the level of loving devotion if he offers such food. In the third chapter, 13th verse 13, Sri Krishna explains that only the remains of sacrifice are purified and fit for consumption by those who seek advancement in life and release from the clutches of material entanglement. To those who not make an offering of their food, he says in the same verse, eating is only sin. In other words, that every mouthful is simply deepen their involvement in the complexities of material nature. But preparing nice, simple vegetable dishes offered them before the picture of Lord Krishna and bowing down and praying to him to accept such a humble offering enables one to advance steadily in life, to purify the body and to create fine brain tissues which will lead to clear thinking. Above all, the offering should be made with an attitude of love. Krishna is in no need for food since he already possesses everything that be, yet he will accept the offering of one who desires to please him in that way. The important element in preparation and serving an offering is to act in love for Krishna. The impersonal philosophers who wish to maintain that the absolute truth is without senses cannot comprehend this verse of Bhagavad-Gita. To them it is either a metaphor or proof of the mundane character of Krishna, the speaker of Bhagavad-Gita. But in actuality, Krishna, the Supreme Godhead, has senses and is stated that his senses are interchangeable. In other words, one sense can perform the function of another. This is what it means to say that Krishna is absolute. Lacking senses, he could hardly be considered full in all opulences. the 7th chapter, Krishna has explained that he impregnates the living entities into material nature. This is done by his looking upon material nature. And so in this instance, Krishna's hearing the devotee's words of love and offering foodstuff is wholly identical with his eating and actually tasting. This point should be emphasized because of his absolute position. His hearing is wholly identical with his eating and tasting. Only the devotee who accepts Krishna as he describes himself without interpretation can understand that the absolute truth can eat food and enjoy it. Om Agyanti Vinandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Sakshurmanitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manu Vishtam Stapitamina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Karamayam Dadati Svapadantikam. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Sri Vasri Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare. And once more, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. One time more, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna. So, the fact is that Krishna is a person, and in religion, in real religion, there always is this concept of God being a person, just like you have in Judeo-Christian tradition, God is a person. There's no question about it. There's no question of Mayavadi understanding that God is just energy. I don't know about Muslim religion so much. I take it that they're personalist, although they don't allow any picture of Allah and only form of Allah. And I don't think they have much knowledge of the nature of Allah. It's not clear. But in the Bhakti tradition, which is shared by Christianity, for example, there is a strong concept, there's a strong understanding of Krishna being the original person, the Adipurusha. He's the original person, and he is, that's why Prabhupada said there are many personalities of Godhead. They're all personalities of Varaha and Rama and Buddha and etc. The fish incarnation, the tortoise incarnation. But there are different personalities of Godhead, but he is the supreme personality of Godhead. It was, for me, in the beginning, a little hard to understand this concept, the supreme personality of Godhead, because you never hear such a thing in Western religiosity as a supreme personality of Godhead. But after understanding a little bit of Krishna philosophy and understanding that the Vishnu Tattva is enormously big, there are so many different forms of God manifested by the original origin of everything. Swamsa, avatars, swamsas they're called. One becomes clear what the fact why God is a person, and that God has to be loved. How to love God, that is not very easy for any one of us. Because there's one thing missing, and that is attachment to God. I give you an example of my mother. She was extremely, she offered herself completely for her children. She was completely in love with her children. And Prabhupada says that the love of a mother to a child is the closest one gets to love of Godhead in the material world. And so one asks himself, how is it that she was so in love with her children? Like I know her food was the best, of course. Nobody can cook like the mother, because the love of the mother is in the food. It is done with love. It is because she's attached to the children. They're coming out of her body. It's a process we men can never understand, the depth of it, of the connection between a mother and a child. Just like my younger brother, he died of brain tumor, and it was horrible. From 4 years on, he suffered his brain tumor, and most people become atheists in these days. if they have such an experience, because they say, where's God here? How is it possible? I asked this question to the priest, where's God when he died? But my mother stayed with God, but she never recovered. When her youngest child died, she was grieving her whole life. And so that's the situation. There's a very strong attachment there to the child, and therefore there is love. This love is based on attachment. And since our attachment for Krishna is not very great, something we have to generate attachment to Krishna, it will take time in Krishna consciousness to chant with love, for example, to offer with love, to sing kirtan with love. It takes time because unfortunately we are very egocentrically predestined. Birth after birth, we are in the false ego concept of life. The real ego concept we all know is Nitya Swarupeya, Nitya Krishna Das, that the soul is an eternal servant of Krishna, but we have been trolling in the material world since a very long time, and therefore our love for Krishna is something that needs to be developed. And we know, of course, that Srila Rupa Goswami is pointing out, after hearing from Lord Chaitanya, that Shraddha leads ultimately to love, to bhava and to prema. But there are many steps in between of purification. There's sadhu sangha, there's association with devotees, and bhajana kriya, there's hearing, chanting. That little faith, ado shraddha, gradually becomes more solidified. By anatta nivritti syat, all the impurities are destroyed, and then nishta, the real faith, arises. And we are coming into a field there, into an area where we are going to Raganuga, that we experiencing Krishna. Krishna reveals himself to us when our heart is sufficiently purified for material life. And so once there's a revelation, that means we become attached to Krishna. Naturally, if you have some experience of Krishna, you become very attached to Krishna. And so by practicing the standard process, gradually, over a period of time, we will develop attachment for Krishna. That kind of raga is the most valuable thing in life, that we can get attachment for Krishna, because even then at the point of death we will not be disturbed, because we are expecting that Krishna is coming to us, because he came to us before in our life. So to offer Krishna with love and devotion, as the Prabhupada said, the word bhakti is used 2 times in this verse. Let me see. Patram pushpam palam tuyam yomai bhaktya prayachati. Who worships me in toyam, water, who gives me water, to me in bhakti, with devotion. Prayachami, he offers me. And again, bhakti uparitam, who offers me in devotion, flower, leaf. All this is done from one in pure consciousness. As it says here, prayata atmana. Prayata atmana is one who can do this because he's in pure consciousness. And that is not, that's the issue in our life, how to develop pure consciousness. And of course we have been given the wonderful formula by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that to chant Krishna's name. Krishna's name is the supreme purifier, as we also know that Krishna in Bhagavad-Gita himself says, of all the sacrifices, yajnanam, japa yagyosmin, I am the chanting of the holy name, japa. It's clearly stated in Bhagavad-Gita, of all sacrifices. It means I am. So that's the highest sacrifice, no doubt about it, is the chanting of the holy name, because by chanting, we dedicate our life to Krishna, our mind to Krishna, our whatever emotions we may have, we dedicate to Krishna, especially if we chant a lot of rounds, beyond the minimum of 16, which I hardly think is enough for the general devotee, which have to chant more. to become serious about this process of practicing Krishna consciousness. And so many times I've heard, and I've also experienced in my own life, that problems arise, this problem or that problem. But in most cases one can safely say it is because we don't chant enough Hare Krishna mantra. Therefore problems are there. The problems are presented by Krishna to us. He wants us to go deeper into it. He wants to see that we become more involved in Krishna consciousness. Like in my own life, the greatest difficulties I have encountered were occurred to me in such a way that I was driven towards Krishna consciousness. The greatest group of people of the Chaturvida Bhajantimam, for 4 classes of pious men, are those who are suffering in the material world. So by suffering, it is Krishna's way to attract a living entity to him, to bring a little living entity to him. My father used to joke like this. He said, either you become my brother or I will hurt you. You know, either you become my brother or I will smash you. He said, actually, I will smash you. So Krishna, he smashes us again and again in the different troubles that come to us. They're nothing but another form of Krishna. Prabhupada said that very clearly, that suffering is nothing but another form of Krishna. What Krishna comes to do, like there's a saying in the, if you don't want to hear, then you have to experience. In German language you say, wer nicht hören will, muss fühlen. If you cannot hear, then you have to experience. And you have to learn the hard way, like we say in English. You have to learn the hard way. And so we have to learn the hard way till we give up our obnoxious resistance towards Krishna. It's really, that's what it is. It's a real resistance. Bhakti Siddhanta used to say that the soul has become averse to God in the material world. We are averse. We have many deep atheistic traits in us. We may say we are devotees, but there's still a lot of atheism at work, that we do not recognize Krishna as he is, or that our endeavor to please Krishna leaves to be desired, or that we are reluctant to chant nicely, or even if we try, that we are reluctant to be attentive to our chanting, and make sure that even if we stray from the path of chanting in our morning japa period, that we are bringing ourselves again and again and again back to the chanting process, in the hopes that Krishna will accept it, so that we can be purified. And this is Srila Bhakti, Srila Haridas Thakur, he used to say that it is not possible to chant the holy name of Krishna with attention without the mercy of God. It's not possible. No one. He said, no one can chant the holy name of the Lord in an attentive way without being blessed by God. So we have to study ourselves and see that we need to improve our relationship to Krishna on a daily basis. Not saying, well, once in a month or something. On a daily basis, we have to make an effort how to please Krishna. I remember when I was in Germany, we used to go over the fields, and there were so many flowers, and I would pick up a flower, just no field flower, and offer it to Krishna. We can do this very easily. If we see a flower, not in somebody else's garden, of course, if we see a flower that can be picked and offered to Krishna, that's nice. That's a beautiful kind of testimony to Krishna that this person loves me, or he tries to love me, he tries to develop his love for him. And that's what actually makes the offering significant. Like he says, Krishna, one who offers me with love and devotion. This is also true for chanting Hare Krishna. One who chants with love and devotion. It's not easy. It's not easy. Do you find it easy? Huh? Sometimes. That we all say. Sometimes, that's exactly, but not all the time. That's the problem, you know. We want to get there all the time because Satatam Kirtayantum, I'm always chanting my glories. Krishna says in Bhagavad-Gita, the great souls worship me in devotion. Satatam Kirtayantum Manyatantatam, with great determination. We want to go there, but unfortunately our conditioning is very strong. And so to develop love of Krishna is actually a very high, sounds easy, but it's actually a very high level of devotional service. If somebody comes, that love of God is the essence of religion, we know. Like Sutta Goswami was asked by the sages, what is the highest religion? And he answered, Savai Pungsam Paro Dharmo. What is the highest religion? Paro Dharma, Paro Dharmo. Yato Bhaktira Thoksaji, to love God. To love Yato Bhaktira Thoksaji, to love God, to give one's heart to God. Because the heart in the material world is impure, and the heart is dedicated to so many things, to so many mundane things. One is given to mundane pleasures very easily, or to mundane attractions. One is very easily given. Whereas the attraction for Krishna is something we have to develop, because somehow we lost it. We don't know how, we don't know why, we don't know when, but the fact is, like Lord Chaitanya says, Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram, that somehow I have fallen into the ocean of material existence. Somehow, he doesn't elaborate on it. Somehow we are. And it is due to a lack of attention to Krishna's needs, attention to Krishna's love that he's giving us, that we have gone our own ways. And that's what, practically speaking, everyone in the material world is doing. Me first, aham purvam, me first, me first. You can see this in little children in the kindergarten. They start fighting. This is my toy. No, it is my toy. No, it is mine. No, it is mine. They started fighting over toy. Because the false ego is awakening as a child. As a little baby, there's not much self-understanding there. It's just like a noodle or like a potato, practically speaking, in the first initial days of his life, till gradually a sense of self is arising. And it's very egocentric. It's very egocentric self that is arising. Very rarely you find children who are not egocentric, who are more communally minded, or God-minded, or other people-minded. The general tendency is first me. And who can say is free from this? Anatta. To see himself first. And even when it comes to progress in spiritual life, to see himself first, above all the others. So therefore, Krishna says that one who offers me in love a fruit, a flower, I will accept it. And later also he says in the next verse, whatever you do, yat karoshi, yat asnasi, yat suhoshi, yat dasiyat, yat tapasyasi kauntiya, tat guru framat arpanam. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, and whatever austerity you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering unto me. And it's interesting that in the Brahma-vaivarta Purana, it is described how within Kali Yuga there is 10,000 years, according to Krishna himself, in Kali Yuga. Krishna talks to Ganga. Anybody knows the content of Brahma-vaivarta Purana? It's a discussion between Ganga, the Ganges, the personality of Ganges, and Krishna. And Ganga is saying, my dear Lord, what is going to happen to me when you leave this planet? Krishna was on the planet at that time. People will bathe in my waters and will deposit all their sins in me. How can I be saved in this age of Kali, that people are so sinful? And then Krishna gives this astounding report. He said to her, "Don't be worried." He said, because in this age of Kali, people who are intelligent, he particularly says intelligent, will worship me by chanting the holy name. And we otherwise, Yajanti Sumeda Saha, this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, that people who are intelligent will worship God. We're not talking about material intelligence, of course. Many highly intelligent people on this planet who know how to manipulate matter in astounding ways. But that intelligence is not intelligence. It's simply that's made material capability. That's what it is. It's somebody's accomplished on the material level to be a great mathematician or a great physicist or a great musician or a great this or that. But actually, all these things will not help a person to make even an inch of advancement in spiritual life if he doesn't turn to God. So we are not talking about material intelligence, we talk about spiritual intelligence. Like there was this one devotee, I forgot his name, who became later a sannyasi. And when Prabhupada was in New York, they had this Rath Yatra festival. And Prabhupada was surprised that the carts were so incredibly decorated, so many flowers. And Prabhupada said, how did you finance this? So much prasadam, so many flowers, so much, who paid for all this? And they said, well, Srila Prabhupada, this boy just joined. And he made an inheritance a week before he came to the temple, $49,000 or something. And he gave the whole money to Krishna. And Prabhupada said, he's intelligent. He's a very intelligent boy. That's the most intelligent thing you can do with your time, to turn to Krishna. It's not intelligent to become materially highly accomplished. It's not intelligent at all. This is maybe jnana, but we are talking about vigyan, realized knowledge. And if we have realized knowledge, we know that Krishna is there, that God is a person, that God is the center of everything there is, and that he can be approached by the process of bhakti-yoga, by love. Only by undivided devotion, as Krishna says, undivided devotion. It's not easy, undivided devotion. Undivided devotion really means 24 hours a day. There's hardly anyone of us who can do that. You can sit down and chant large amounts of rounds. But even then, there's always, in the chanting process, there's the concept or the tendency to veer off the path of attentive chanting, and the mind drags us to some other place. And even then, after the chanting is over, after one finishes his 50 rounds or whatever one may chant, 64 even, then the mind is still finding other things that are not exactly the same, on the same level of pure devotion to the Supreme Personality of God. It's the idea of satatam kirtayantu mam. It's a very high prophecy. Das sind Mahatmanas tumam pata. Das sind die Mahatmas, die in this way are absorbed in Krishna consciousness and in Krishna, it's Krishna's service. Okay, do you have any questions?
I have one about the text. It says about the text, the purpose. Yeah?
Yeah?
It says that bhakti is never causal.
Never?
Never? There is no cause. There is no cause to bhakti.
But you see, the answer is actually quite simple.
Yeah.
There's no cause to bhakti because bhakti comes from Krishna, and Krishna is causeless. You see, and the causeless Krishna, he can, out of his own desire, he can bestow this bhakti on us.
But I thought that it comes from...
Not necessarily, you see, Krishna, this is all I can understand. You know, I can understand that everything Krishna has and everything he does is causeless, my understanding. And bhakti, he bestows it in his own way. He may bestow it to us or not. It is not that he's conditioned to our deeds. You know? He's independent, he's Swaraj. So when he gives bhakti, it is his causeless mercy. Just like we say, spiritual master. Spiritual master is his love for us is causeless. It's a causeless mercy. There is something like, according he surrenders unto me, I reward him. It's there. And Krishna says is that there's some reciprocation according to our surrender, our desire to serve him. But by the end of the day, it's up to him to give us bhakti or not, or to give us a name or not. You know, we may be chanting a long time and beating our heads against the wall, and Krishna is not going to give us his name because it comes in his own time by his own sweet will, whenever he wishes to bestow the holy name on us or to bestow bhakti on us. That's his causeless mercy. This is how I understand that. I have nothing more to say about it. Really. I don't understand it any way deeper. You know, like many times people ask, why is Krishna blue? And the answer is you can't ask this question because you can only ask the question if there's a cause to something. Like, why is he blowing his nose all the time? Well, he has a sniffle. There's a sniffle. Or why is he belching? Well, because he has a problem with his stomach. He ate too much or is imbalanced. Or why is this? Why is that? You can ask this question in the material world. There's so many whys. And most of the time there's an answer. But why is Krishna blue? You can't answer this question because there's no cause. He always was blue. He always is blue. He always will be bluish. His bluishness is causeless. Therefore you can't ask why. You understand the situation? Many times people say, why is God blue? Why? There's no question of why. Why you can say, you can ask why if there's a cause to something. Then why? But if something is causeless, why, the question of why becomes, how do you say, not applicable. Irrelevant. Thank you very much. That's the right word. Irrelevant. There's no relevance to it.
The reason why I ask this is because every time I've read many times that there is a cause to that. That's why I ask that. It's the first time that I read there is no cause.
Well, you see, certainly our endeavor, there's three things: endeavor, patience, and enthusiasm. These three things, they are occupying us on the way to devotional service to Krishna. So there is some sort of cause. But Krishna is free to do it. He is free to give us bhakti or not. He's not bound by anybody. Maybe he's bound by Srimati Radharani's love. Maybe bound ultimately by our love for him. But to bestow this love, this capability to love God, that is Krishna's causeless mercy. Like Haridas Thakur said, I expressed before, the ability to chant without distraction, that's Krishna's mercy. The ability to chant Hare Krishna sincerely, even that's Krishna's mercy. Everyone sincerely chants. One can make an effort, but for making an effort to actually sincerely chant, that's the difference. You know, that's the difference. Somebody sincerely chants, deeply sincerely chants, he cannot deviate from the chanting because he's so concentrated, he's so focused on the chanting process because of his purification. Yes?
Thank you.
Any other question? No? Last chance. You have another question maybe?
No, it's okay. Thank you. I just thought that the cause would be your own desire. Because if you desire sincerely to wrong, to have bhakti, then I suppose Krishna is going to do bhakti.
Yes,
It's based on desire.
in one sense, yes. In another
Krishna
one,
is not going to say,
in another one, you see, it's just like in a relationship, you know. It may be that if you please a person, that he becomes obliged to you. But it may be not. Maybe not. Maybe he's thinking, well, let's see how this is going on in a year or two. You know? So Krishna Bhakti is such a precious thing. You know, such a precious thing. It cannot say, all right, I chant my rounds today, very intensive. Where are you, Krishna? You know, it doesn't work like this. He wants to see a high level of dedication. And then in his own time, whenever he sees fit, we cannot make any conditions to that. You know, whenever he sees fit, in his own time he can bestow his mercy upon us. Just like the initial phase of Krishna consciousness practice is sadhana bhakti. But in due course of time, as a devotee becomes purified, he goes from sadhana bhakti to raganuga. And in this situation, Krishna reveals himself to the devotee. That's what it is, what the meaning is from raganuga. The God actually he allows the devotee to experience him. And you cannot force that. That in the ultimate issue, our process is revelation in the initial stage by hearing from scripture, and all these instructions we have from spiritual master. But then when it comes to Krishna himself, that's based on revelation also. And one needs to be highly qualified and purified from material inebriety to deserve that mercy. Prabhupada used to say, I mean, I asked Prabhupada this question a long time ago, 1974 on the morning walk. I said, Srila Prabhupada, what about your internal life? I was a little boy, I mean, I had no idea this was quite an intense question to ask, and Prabhupada didn't reply to it. He kept walking. So I said, Srila Prabhupada, I would really like to know, what about your internal life? And then Prabhupada looked at me and stopped very strongly. He said, that you do not require.
sorry,
That you do not require. You know? That you do not require. Because, you see, there's a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, where that which is confidential is powerful as long as kept a secret. It's powerful. So that platform of Raganuga is so intensely personal. Beautiful and intensely personal, and so therefore it's confidential. It's confidential. That's why it says, what is it? Raja Vidya Raja Guyam. What do you want from me? He wants to that I chant the Gayatri Mantra. You know, it's an intense personal level, and at this level Krishna reveals himself to the devotee in his own time. You know, we cannot force it. Krishna is not to be forced by us. Like Hiranyakashipu, we try to force by his austerity Brahma's complicity to his obnoxious dreams. You know, so we cannot do this. We can make an effort. It's one of the things of devotional service, is effort with enthusiasm. And but the blessing, they come from above in Krishna's own time. You know, and Prabhupada said, it is secure that it will happen. He said, just like a woman who has a husband, in due course of time she will have a child, in most cases at least. You know, so this Prabhupada uses this example. So in the same way, one has to wait for Krishna's mercy. One has to wait for God to guide us towards him. Yeah.
Can you tell me how you overcome self-egocentric tendency? First me, then others, or Krishna, attachment is strong for material instrument.
See, when we love Krishna, we must love others, because everyone is a child of Krishna. You cannot love the father and say, as far as your kids are concerned, I don't care. You can't. That's why meat eating and religion is incompatible. It's not compatible. It's just incompatible. If somebody says he loves God and at the same time he's eating cows, it's completely incompatible. He has no idea. He doesn't know what he's talking about. So to love God, you must love. Prabhupada said this in Germany in the discussion with his Father Porsche. He said, if you love Krishna, if you love Jesus, you must love Krishna. He's the father of all creatures. That means we also have to love the creatures. They're our brothers. And how callous we are towards our brothers. So how do we come to this state? Well, the main purifier is given by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and is described in the Shikshastaka prayers. That even in the first verse of Shikshastaka, Urjan has pointed it out in his book Japa, there's 7 benedictions given. That the heart is being purified. When the heart is purified, things are different. That's why it is important to chant Harinam, Kalona, Stevana, Steva Gatyana. There's no other way, no other way, no other way. It's the heartpiece of our movement to chant Hare Krishna mantra. Nicely. And a lot. That's the sadhana, the yagya for this age. So by chanting Hare Krishna mantra, one becomes purified. It's a very gradual process. You cannot say that you can become purified from one day to another. It's a gradual process.
During my japa, my mind, I cannot concentrate on
Yes.
and it's too much.
This is natural, because the mind has been running around in the material world since time immemorial. It's always running around, So now to curtail the mind's frivolousness, that requires persistence, Like Arjuna asked this question, how about the mind? To control the mind is more difficult than the wind. And Krishna says, by practice and by determination. These two things, these are the two things that are given in Bhagavad-Gita. By practice, we have to practice it, and determination. And by prayer, we have to pray to Krishna, please, you are Rishikesh. What does it mean, Rishikesh? It's the control of the senses. And the mind is a sense, it's a sixth sense. So we have to pray to Krishna and ask him, please guide us, please help us. We have to lament for Krishna, we have to cry for Krishna, particularly when we chant, because our mind is so wicked, like Bhaktisiddhanta. He spoke about the wicked mind that has to be beaten with a broomstick in the morning and with a shoe in the evening. So the mind is very wicked. Fortunately enough, in this age of Kali Yuga, our thinking is not punishable. In the previous yugas, even the thinking is punishable. In Kali Yuga, this is a benediction that we may think badly, but then in itself is not an offense, unless it is put into practice. So the controlling the mind is, hey, that's everybody's difficulty. I mean, in my personal experience or my personal adjustment is that I have come to the conclusion that I chant more. Because the more you chant, the more you have the facility to pull the mind back. Say you chant 2 sets of rounds, 32 rounds. You have double amount of facility to bring the mind back to Krishna. Say you chant 3 times, you chant 50 rounds or 48 or 50. You have 3 times the chance on the same day to bring your mind to Krishna. You should chant more. I think everybody should. You know, that's a safe way to achieve Krishna's mercy. That's the process given by Lord Chaitanya himself. The holy name. Without the holy name, nothing is going to happen here. That's our recipe. Jeev Jago, Lord Chaitanya says, Jeev Jago, take the medicine. I've brought this medicine for you. That's the medicine. And we should apply this medicine profusely. And then we will find that so many difficulties that we otherwise encountered previously in our life don't affect us anymore. Because an intense endeavor to chant nicely and a lot. That's what I can say to them. That's based on my own experience, really. Yeah.
Like a child that prays for the child cries for the mother, and the mother comes. Yeah. So it would be possible that if it seems a contradiction that like can we say unified devotees, if he or she prays intensely, it's like a child who just
Yes, Prabhupada said.
Krishna reciprocates.
Yeah, Prabhupada said that we should cry for Krishna. You know, today I heard Prabhupada said somewhere that even when one leads a kirtan, he said it's not so much a matter of form or melody; it's a question of emotions. That one is crying out for Krishna. Please hear me. You know, this is necessary. There's a verse in the Bible that says, although you make many prayers, although you are making many prayers, I will not hear you, because your heart is far away from me. That's the verse. I won't hear you because your heart is far away from me. The heart is somewhere else. The heart is given to money, to wine, women, and etc. You know, in the material world, or to money, fame, fortune, all these things that Lord Chaitanya condemned, nadanam, ranjanam, nasundarim. And so, although you make many, it's a wonderful verse, you know, although you make many prayers, I will not hear you because your heart is far away from me. That's what it says in the Old Testament. Is it nice, isn't it? And so we have to think about it, that these instructions are significant even when they come from another scripture, because the question is, where's our heart? You know, if our heart is outright materialistic, then how can we chant this feeling, this devotion? How can we develop a devotional attitude to Krishna, a loving attitude to Krishna? To achieve love of Krishna is very difficult, you know. Forgiving sins is not that difficult, you know. In our philosophy, all the acharyas agree that even if a person only chants one time the holy name of God sincerely, more sins are forgiven than he is able to commit. So forgiving sins is not the biggest problem. The biggest problem is how to develop love of God. That's the thing. That's the most difficult part. You know, sins are already forgiven. When somebody chants regularly, whatever he has done in the past becomes small, insignificant for Krishna. It's not what he considers to be serious. Bhava Grahi Janardana, it says in scripture that the Lord sees only the good, the bhav. It says bhava there, it says love. And the rest, like Krishna, he pardon Putana, although she wanted to kill him. He pardon any one of the demons that came to him, although they had the intention to kill him. And still, Krishna was forgiving. So the forgiveness of sin is that Christians are so occupied with. Jesus has forgiven our sins. Therefore everything is all right. We don't have to worry about anything. We got the ticket. No, you didn't get the ticket yet. The ticket is you may have the stamp in your passport. You may have, but you have to still get the visa, to Krishna. And that's based on love, So we can be glad. Prabhupada, he had this love for Krishna, He cried sometimes when he saw that somebody was mistreated. I've seen Prabhupada cry at different occasions, because his love for humanity was so incredible that he would not allow himself any comfort, practically speaking, because he was so concerned with the with the living entities. Like Prahlad is saying this verse, that I'm not concerned with my own happiness, I'm only concerned with the happiness of others. This is verse. That one. So chetato vimukacheta saindriyata maya sukar udvahatu vimudam. That's verse. And I'm so concerned with them, out of love for them. Think about it. Prabhupada came to the Western world with nothing, and he created an institution that creates so much piety in people. So much. Thousands of people come to our temples. In Mayapur, it's simply overwhelming. When you see that people wait for 3 o'clock, they're waiting in line to be allowed into the temple at 4:10. They're coming from long distance. Only India has that. That's why India is a holy country. You don't see this in the West. That sort of dedication. All right, shall we wrap it up? It's 5:15. Article is soon. I thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.